And in the first time in the wildland fire community's history, he was brought up on criminal charges as a result of the things he did at work, the decisions he made to put this fire out. Somebody died, and then he got held personally liable and was brought up on criminal charges, looking at manslaughter charges. I want my lawyer present, and I'm not going to answer any questions that my lawyer doesn't tell me I have to answer, and I'm only going to answer them as fully as my lawyer says I have to. That was an aha moment for our organization. We're like, how in the world are we going to figure out how to prevent these events from happening if we can't even figure out what happened? People won't even talk to us. They won't tell us their stories. They won't share with us the lessons they learned that we can then help other people learn vicariously, so that we don't have to learn by trial and error, but we can learn by other people's actions, right? The most powerful people aligned, and one person got scapegoated, and this is a super complex event, but we need to figure out whose head's gonna roll. Who are we gonna say is whose fault it is? Who's in charge on the ground and making the calls? And that person is the person that's gonna get the criminal liability, right? So why in the world would you wanna be an incident commander? And so we had to do some introspection, and we had to ask ourselves, what does a successful accident review look like? What questions do you want answered at the end of the review process? And so we turned to research, and we started looking to see what was out there in the research community to figure out, because we knew what we were doing right now wasn't working. And they pointed us to this idea of the power of perspective, right? But what we found through research is the most learning you're gonna get is by figuring out where those conflicts in perspective occur, right? You heard Persephone say, I was mad, I was angry, but when I heard other people tell their story, I didn't agree with them, but at least I understood where they were coming from. How can you learn in the moment and figure out how to communicate in the moment so that people understand what you're seeing is different maybe than what they're seeing? And so what we figured out also through research is that you have to make a choice at the beginning before you interview anybody. Do you want to learn from this event, or do you want to punish people? Right? But if somebody came to work to do their job and something bad happens, that's an accident. We work in a complex system, and we'll talk a little bit more about complex systems here in a minute. But if that's the case, then we need to prioritize learning and take punishment off the table. Otherwise, we're going to end up in the spot where nobody's going to talk to us, and they all lawyer up,